What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I forget exactly what video, but it was one of my last videos. Might not be the last one, but probably the one before that or the one before that, last couple of videos. Right at the end of the video, I put up this headline. You see that, huh? That's quite insane if you ask me, right? Like, this is just nuts. Well, right, this isn't that. This is a totally different story. I guess we're going to expound upon this a little bit. So let's delve into the dark, if you will, because this is just absolutely insane, y'all. Gavin Newsom and California Democrats reach $50 million deal to Trump-proof the state. You got to love the insanity of Democrats in California. California Democrats have reached a $50 million agreement to shore up state and local legal defenses against the incoming Trump administration just a week ahead of the president-elect's inauguration. Half the money would go to fending off any mass deportation plan the new president might enact early in his administration. So, this is what your Democratic leadership gives you over in California, right? So instead of worrying about all the people in Los Angeles that have absolutely lost everything, instead of running up a special session to go and give these people some relief, funding, emergency management, blah, 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 you name it, because they've lost everything in this insane wildfire due to their incompetence. Okay, I understand wildfires happen, right? And they're trying to blame this on climate change. Oh, climate change caused this. No, climate change doesn't cause wildfires. The climate itself causes wildfires. But the changing of that climate is not what caused this, right? There is definitely loads of evidence to show that this was man-made. So, the fact that they're unable to fight these fires in a proficient manner, right? Like, we pay taxes to have an entire brigade of people that fight fires for a living, right? We pay taxes so there can be people on standby that are highly trained, or in most cases, I'm not going to say in California they're highly trained, but in most cases they're highly trained and are just itching to go and put out a fire that you might accidentally start at your house because on Thanksgiving you threw in a frozen turkey into the 400-degree cooking oil pot that you had and it exploded, right? That's what they're prepared for most of the time. But we've been seeing all kind of garbage come out of California. They've been so worried about DEI and all this woke garbage that their focus is on diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? There's this sickening video of this lady responding kind of in a comedic way, laughing about it, saying, oh, well, what would I say to somebody that says I can't pull out a man that got trapped in his burning house? Well, he got himself in a bad situation.
Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Right, so I forgot what that clip said. I don't know it right off the top of my head. Like I always say, I do these off the cuff. There's no script except for the news. Right, so that's insane. Right, isn't it? That is just outright blatantly insane. Like, how do you defend that? At this point, right? That was made a couple of years ago. How do you defend making those statements at this point? How do you defend calling up a special session to Trump-proof the state when you have the southern part of your state is on fire, literally? Like, how do you defend this? It is insane, if you ask me. The move, the first of its kind in the nation that positions California to lead a second-term resistance against Donald Trump, comes as Republicans bash state Democratic leaders for focusing on a highly partisan issue, even as the southern part of the state suffers from historically devastating fires. The deal includes $25 million Newsom had proposed for the State Department of Justice to fight the federal government in court shortly after Trump's re-election in November, plus $25 million more proposed by state senators, Senate leaders to defend immigrants against deportation, detention, and wage theft. Wage theft. Right? This is, once again, the insanity that is coming out of California. What do you mean by wage theft over here? You mean, okay, so to fight criminal aliens, we're obviously talking about criminal aliens right here. So, wage theft from criminal aliens. So, let me ask a question to the comment section right quick. How can you take something from somebody that is in some place, taking something from somebody else when they're not supposed to be in that place? I don't know if you picked up on that because the way I worded it might have been a little bit fuzzy, but how can criminal aliens suffer from wage theft if they're not supposed to be here in the first place? I don't get that. I don't understand the brain that is on these people. These people are not supposed to be here. I understand people want to come to this country. There is a legal process to do this. Sure, it gets backed up. How about you advocate for expanding the legal immigration system that we have in this country instead of just allowing people to come in illegally? Like, that's ridiculous. You know, people don't just, you know, when they're in the grocery store and there's a long line at the checkout, they don't just say screw it and just walk out the store because they don't feel like waiting in line. Yeah, that's illegal, and you can go to jail for that. It's the same situation here, right? Just because there's a long line doesn't mean that you can just skip the line and go around. What does that say about your character? And how would you advocate for somebody that sees a long line and says, screw it, they're just going to steal everything and leave? Well, this is people advocating that people should be allowed to do this. They're griping at other people who are saying, hey, that's not fair to all these people that are standing in line. Right? Wouldn't that be insane to have some people out there actually advocating for, you should be allowed to, if, you know, your grocery cart is full and the line is too long and you walk out, that you shouldn't get in trouble for that. There's people that is advocating for this. That is insane. And what's even more insane, imagine this. Imagine you have a district attorney, right, that would actually spend tax dollars to go and keep that person out of jail, to make sure that they don't get arrested, that they don't get caught stealing groceries. That's what's going on here. Now, if you frame it in such a manner, it sounds quite insane, don't it? This is why I call Democrats quite insane, don't I? Yes, I do, because that's insane to me. That you're just going to advocate to break the law just because there's a wait time. Like, well, we don't do this with airplanes or anything else. Why on immigration? It makes no sense, and they are insane for suggesting so. The $25 million proposed by the Senate would fund grants for legal nonprofits and immigration support centers. So more wasting of money, right? There you go. Your tax dollars are being spent on immigration support centers. They should put criminal alien support centers. But hey, it is what it is. This funding agreement cements California's readiness to serve as a bulwark against Trump's extremist agenda, said Senate Budget Chair Scott Weiner, a San Francisco Democrat who's expressed interest in one day replacing Rep. Nancy Pelosi in a statement. They worded that a little bit weird, don't you think? Said Senate Budget Chair Scott Weiner, a San Francisco Democrat who's expressed interest in one day replacing Rep. Nancy Pelosi in a statement. He wants to replace Nancy Pelosi in a statement? Okay. Yeah, Politico, I think you need to... Yeah, never mind. Floor votes on the so-called special session package could come as soon as this week. That would give Newsom time to sign the deal before Trump's inauguration on January 20th and shift focus away from the session's partisan feud to how Democrats are responding to the unfolding disaster in Los Angeles. Reps for the governor's office and legislative leaders did not respond to requests for comments as the deal is expected to be announced as early as Monday. Republicans have agitated agitated for a special session focused solely on the fires, and Newsom told Pod Save America over the weekend he is happy to do whatever moves the needle forward when asked about calling such a session. But yet they're more willing and more worried about calling a Trump-proofing special session, than they are about the people that are burning alive in California, I guess. He said he and legislative leaders were going to discuss whether that was necessary. Oh, so we don't even know if it's necessary to call in a special session because there's this entire disaster going on. Screw it. Newsom and legislators representing Los Angeles have also been in Southern California since the fires escalated, but that has not neutralized GOP critics. At a time when California should be laser focused on responding to the devastating wildfires in LA, Democratic lawmakers' priority is creating a $50 million slush fund to hire government lawyers for hypothetical fights against the federal government and to defend criminal illegal immigrants from being returned to their home countries, Assembly Minority Leader James Gallagher said in a statement reacting to the special session deal. The provisions of the deal emerged through amendments to 4 special session bills on Friday. Oh, you gotta love that. And leave it to Politico to put that all the way at the end, knowing that most people, they don't read all the news. They just read a little bit and then they just on to the next thing. But I'm making a point to go through all this because of statements like that, because I know the corporate press, that's to be a legitimate, fact bringer, if you will, you have to bring the facts. But what they do, they manipulate and they reword, or they'll leave stuff at the end to where you quit before you get to the actual facts. But that's why I always get to the end of those things. But to me, it's insane that they would need a special session to Trump-proof the state. If you're going to call a special session, right, don't you think you would call it for the, actual unfolding disaster that has befallen you, like currently, right? With everything going on, right? And you got Gavin Newsom out here trying to deflect, just constantly deflect. I've seen several little clips of him, you say it's talking about Donald Trump's lies about what's going on. It's talking about the reservoirs that are completely dry. And he's like, no, there's no state reservoirs that are dry. And then the reporter actually said, oh, yeah, there are. And he's like, no, that's local. That's not us. Like, totally deflecting from all of this. It's like, come on, people. Just take it in the face, if you will. I would love it for once for a politician to just say, yes, we screwed up. I mean, what is so hard about that? Yes, we screwed up. But instead, you just go off and lie. Right? Like, this is something I couldn't stand about Joe Biden. Oh, the economy's great. What are y'all talking about? No, the economy's not great. You see a couple of numbers that are good, right? But people are over here struggling, right? It's like what's going on with this. You can't get water out of the fire hydrants over here. They can't put out the fires if there's no water. And y'all have diverted water because of environmental issues. It's like, come on, y'all. Like, get the program together here and do something. Like, do it right or don't do it at all. Quit your job. Get out of there. If you can't take the heat, literally, get out of the kitchen, if you will. And Gavin Newsom is a failed leader. Outright, at this point. He is definitely a failed leader. Right? These people been knowing about this. Right? I've seen all kind of videos of people's statements from 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, talking about this could happen. It would be an absolute disaster if a wildfire broke out in Los Angeles. It would burn half the city to the ground. All right, I've seen several clips like this, and these people just so happen to be right, and it's a terrible tragedy. These people are lucky that there's not more of a death toll, in other words. Like, the death toll is kind of low compared to natural disasters. They're doing okay. A lot of people lost everything, though. So I would also suggest that you guys out there, I don't have a big voice, but I do have a voice. If you can donate to any of these charity funds out here to help some of these victims of this wildfire, victims of Democratic leadership, if you will, do it. Donate what you can, help people out. Trust me, it's needed, and people, they depend on that stuff, right? Once again, I live in Southwest Louisiana. We've gotten hit with several hurricanes over here and have been just blindsided, but well, not really blindsided, but we've been left stranded. We've been left high and dry several times, right? Like I remember Hurricane Rita. It took almost a week for FEMA to get here because everybody was worried about what was going on in New Orleans. Y'all remember 2005 and Hurricane Katrina, right? That whole disaster, right? Well, Rita was like 3 weeks later. It hit our area. Well, we didn't live below sea level. We didn't have all those levees protecting us from all the flooding. Yeah, the flooding had just happened the week prior to Rita coming through. So, yeah, we were left high and dry for a while before the National Guard actually rolled in over here. We just had to survive on our own, and we did. Right? I would suggest that Rita was worse than Katrina, even though, the hurricane itself was about the same. But the damage was widespread as hell, and we didn't get any assistance at all for a week, a little bit over a week. It was nuts. It was outright nuts. Like, I was on my own. I was by myself. My family had fled. I was like, nah, screw it. I was in my mid-20s, early 20s, and I was like, I can take it. I'll just stay here. Screw it. I wasn't really thinking. Yeah, I should have left, but it made me a tougher person. I ain't gonna lie. It did, because I struggled. I really did. I struggled pretty hard because, nobody came back. We didn't have electricity for almost a month. It was like 26 days or something like that, 27 days, somewhere around. It was almost a month. We were out of electricity. And, I was having to walk down to go and get MREs. I was eating MREs for a month. Those things. They're nutritious. I'll say that. They're not all that good, but they're nutritious. But that was definitely a life experience that I'll never forget, and not in a good way, right? It did make me a little bit stronger of a person, a little bit more independent, if you will, but yeah, I think I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. This blows my mind. Like, my mind's just constantly getting blown by the stupidity of some of these people. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.